right, Professor Homa back with part 2 of the budget exercise. This won't take long. I thank you for sitting through the first part, which was a little bit longer, 12 minutes, but then again, you could be sitting in an hour and a half class. So anyway, moving on to number 12, we're going to total up our expenses. Now to do that, we do it like we normally total up columns. We just go in our finishing column here, which will be B39. That's where we're going to total up our expenses. And what we're going to do is just use an auto sum. We could use that auto sum symbol over here. It looks like a sigma. I'm going to hit auto sum while I'm in cell B39. And you can see what it did. It looked for cells above it or next to it that has values in it. Now, it didn't do all my values. Well, that's fine. I'll just grab the corner. Now, if you grab the corner here, if you see, look very closely, there's a plus sign. When I hover over the corner, I'm getting kind of like a double arrow. I'm going to grab that and drag it all the way up to where I need. And I want it right to here. I just want expenses. I don't want to go up here, and there would be nothing in there. So I'm just going to go up to here, and I'm just extending that column. So it'll be a range of, you can see B8 through B38. So when I do that, it doesn't kind of write it yet. It's waiting for me to OK it. So when I hit return, it adds all that up. Okay, now I'm seeing I have about 2,500, and up here I have about 2,600. It's not leaving a lot left over. So either we got to make some more money or cut down on our expenses. But you know, we'll adjust that a little bit. So the last part here is we just want to know the difference. Now that's a pretty simple calculation. We're just subtracting one cell from the other. So we're subtracting this cell, B39, is going to get subtracted from B5. So that's a simple calculation. I'm just going to go equal sum. And I'm going to use cell numbers. I'm not going to use numbers. So I'm going to do B5 minus B39. And that should figure out our income, net monthly income, minus our expenses. I'm going to hit return, and we end up with, that's how much we have left over each month based on this budget, $132.51. So I hope you don't go to the movies much or spend a lot of money on, you know, going out or anything, because that's not a lot left over, you know. And hopefully we added in more that we need here. You know, I put 1,000 for mortgage or rent. Now I didn't put in taxes. I didn't put in fuel oil if you use oil to heat your house or anything like that. School, I just put $100 a month. Credit card, $50 a month. You may have bigger expenses than that. Even car payment, I put in $200 a month. You may have a bigger car payment. Gas, I put about $200 a month, which is probably about right, depending on where you live and how you go through gas. You know, insurance, I'm not sure about, but and maintenance. So anyway, that's on 40,000 a year, and some of these expenses here, the phone things, those kind of things, you may have a bundle of internet, phone, cable, something like that. So again, I'm not sure about that. That's why I said you could use this for yourself. But right now, we're ending up with $132.51 left over. If you'd want to figure out something, like if your goal was to have, we want to save at least $400 a month afterwards, you could use something called Goal Seek. Now, what Goal Seek is, and it's not really that advanced, but it's in Excel, and you could do it without just, you could just keep changing these numbers. You could say, well, what if I made $50,000 a year? And hit return, and it'll update everything and say, okay, now I'll have an extra 800. If only I made 50,000 a year. You could do that. You could keep changing this number, and it's going to recalculate everything, and as long as you're using cell references. But if you wanted to be more specific, if you said, I want this number to be 400, what do I have to make a year to do that? Let's say you're going to ask for a raise. Well, what you could do, and I'm going to go into data. I'm going to use this data tab, and this is the very last thing on number 13. I'm going to go into data, and I'm going to go over here. There's a what if analysis, which is pretty cool to use. It sounds very complex. And you're going to go into Goal Seek. That sounds very complex as well. So I'm going to go into the what if analysis, Goal Seek, and what it does is it says set cell. What cell do you want to set? I want to set B41. I was in there. If you weren't in there, you could still type in what cell it is. So I want to set that cell to B, and I'll just put a value in here of, let's say, 400. If you want to make sure that you have that much left over every month. And what cell do you want to change? You actually want to change, I can't see it right here, it's cut off, but I actually want oh, there it is. I actually want to change cell B5. So I'm going to change cell B5. That's going to, or actually not cell B5. I'm sorry about that. It's going to be C4. The first one that we put in there is the one that we want to change. So I'm going to put in C4. Okay, so you want to figure out yearly salary first of all, and then whatever monthly works out is fine. So I'm going to set my kind of leftover income minus expenses. I want to set my leftover to 400, and then by changing my yearly salary. So that'll give you an idea of what your yearly salary needs to be if you want 400 left over. And I could hit OK, and it'll do that. And what it did, it said you got to make $44,000 a year at least if you want 400 left over, based on these expenses. And again, that's just an extra little thing you could do afterwards if you want to plan ahead, or if you want to, do some planning for the next couple years to figure out, well, in the next 5 years, how much do I want to make if I want to save this much for college, or if I want to save this much for buying a house, or whatever it may be. So it gives you a little plan. The goal sheet, this what if analysis goal sheet, gives you a little planning ability. And again, all these things here you can change. You could use them for yourself, and you could change it based on what you do. You could add columns. Obviously, if you add rows and add your data, you may have to update the way things add up because the cell references may change. So that's the only thing that may change. Otherwise, you could just keep plugging a number here. If you're like, you just landed a big job and you're making, $70,000 a year, and you just want to see, and you're like, wow, I got an extra, $2,000 coming in addition to expenses. And it's like, hey, you could start putting some money away and start saving up for something. So, that would be nice. Anyway, that's our budget exercise. I don't think there's anything more to show you. You could just leave it on whatever you did last, which will probably be, with the 400 in here with the goal seek on number 13. So you could leave it like that. I don't care what's in this value here. This should probably be whatever your last thing was. Like I said, the last thing was somewhere around 44,000. I'll just throw that in there because it was somewhere around there. Yeah, that's 399. So it's close to that. So this is what your file should probably look like when it's done. I don't care what's here. It'll just be the last thing you did. And then just save it with your last name and send it to me. And hopefully this helped you out, and maybe you'll get to use it in the future.